Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. I am so incredibly excited you're hanging out with us today because we are looking at something that is literally turning the design world upside down. We're talking about the massive impact of artificial intelligence on the fashion industry. From those giant global clothing brands you wear every day down to independent creators working out of their bedrooms, AI is completely rewriting the rules of how garments are thought up, how they're made, and even how they're legally protected. We're going to dive into some absolutely fascinating data today to see exactly how this is playing out in real time.
So here is the roadmap for our journey today. We'll start with number 1, the new fashion workflow. Then 2, mastering AI design prompts. 3, perfecting the physical print. And finally, 4, navigating the copyright maze. But first, I want you to think about something. Could designing a brand new t-shirt really be as easy as just shooting off a text message? Well, what sounded like absolute science fiction just a couple of years ago is actually happening right now thanks to generative AI. We are moving away from these grueling multi-day manual grinds to literally just typing out a sentence and getting a runway-ready design in seconds. It's wild.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, the new fashion workflow. To really put this into perspective, you have to look at this data because the contrast is absolutely staggering. The old way of designing was plagued by things experts call context switching and brand drift. Think about it. A brief starts in a Notion doc. A designer tries to interpret it over in Figma. Maybe they generate some base imagery in Midjourney, then they're editing in Photoshop, and then manually resizing every single format. That whole ordeal takes about 3 to 5 business days. But now platforms like LoveArt are taking a sledgehammer to that entire chain. By just typing a brief into a single tool called Chat Canvas, the AI plans the whole execution. It automatically grabs your exact brand colors and logos, so no more hunting for hex codes, and it batch generates all the variants. Your time frame drops from almost a week to somewhere between 8 and 15 minutes. It's just a stunning leap in efficiency.
And you know, this actually represents a fundamental shift in what a designer even does anymore. We are moving from making to curating. Because these tools can batch generate 6 or more fully branded complete design variants at the exact same time, you're no longer bottlenecked by your own physical production speed. Instead of painstakingly building one single image, you are basically acting as a creative director now. You review the batch, you touch edit the one that catches your eye, and you export it. Your taste and your decision-making have suddenly become your most valuable assets.
Moving right along to section 2, mastering AI design prompts.
Now, if you want truly professional results from top-tier tools like Style 3D or LightX, you can't just type in vague ideas and cross your fingers. You need structure. The perfect prompt formula actually breaks down into 4 very specific steps. Step 1 is the subject and silhouette, so explicitly defining a slim-fit blouse versus an oversized hoodie. Step 2 is fabric and texture. You want to ask for silk chiffon or French terry cotton, so the AI nails that realistic drape. Step 3 is color and details, which locks in your branding. And finally, step 4, style and lighting. This is where you ask for things like photorealistic studio lighting. When you stack these elements sequentially, it's like giving the AI a rigid architectural blueprint, rather than just forcing it to guess.
But here is the catch. Telling the AI what not to do is honestly just as vital. Negative prompts are basically your safety net. If you don't explicitly tell the AI to avoid things like distorted folds, or extra seams, or blurry textures, it might spit out a shirt with 3 sleeves or this weird synthetic-looking shine. By locking in those negative constraints up front, you ensure the output is clean, highly realistic, and ready for an e-commerce catalog without even needing a physical sample. And seeing a complex, psychedelic mandala design like this brilliantly illustrates exactly what high-level prompt engineering can achieve. Just look at the intricate, perfect lines there. It is gorgeous. But while generating a beautiful image on a computer screen is one thing, it sets up our next massive hurdle. How on earth do we take something this complex and actually print it onto a physical piece of fabric without it looking like a blurry, pixelated mess? Well, before we solve that printing puzzle, let's look at who's actually using this tech day to day. The practical applications are pretty endless. People are launching entire clothing brands or scaling print-on-demand businesses armed with nothing but AI prompts. It is incredible for fulfilling really specific custom requests or reacting instantly to whatever trend is blowing up on the internet today. Say you're organizing an event, like the Real World Chill Out Planet Electronic Forest Festival over in Russia. You could use AI to instantly batch generate dozens of hyper-specific, themed merchandise designs that blend psychedelic art with forest motifs in minutes, giving your attendees totally unique gear.
Which brings us perfectly to section 3, perfecting the physical print.
So when it comes to the physical world, there is a magic number you absolutely have to know: 300. That stands for 300 dpi, or dots per inch. That is the absolute bare minimum resolution needed for a high-quality physical print. And here is the massive problem designers keep running into. Most AI image generators like Midjourney or DALL-E export their files at only 72 dpi. Sure, that looks amazing on your iPhone, but the second you try to stretch a 72 dpi image to cover a 30-centimeter chest print on a hoodie, it completely falls apart. It gets muddy, pixelated, and totally unusable.
So how do we fix it? Well, industry pros use something called the squish method. You can't just open Photoshop and stretch the canvas size, because all that does is stretch the bad pixels and make them bigger. Instead, you have to run it through a dedicated AI upscaling tool first to make the artwork 8 times larger than the original. By generating this massive file that's packed heavily with newly reconstructed data, you then take it and squish it down to your actual target print size. That packs those pixels incredibly tightly together, and that's how you retain those razor-sharp details on the fabric.
All right, so once your resolution is locked in, you've got to pick the right printing method. Direct-to-garment, or DTG, is a total game changer for full-color, photorealistic AI art, because it can handle those complex gradients and textures perfectly without needing any manual color separation. On the flip side, if you're going old school with traditional screen printing, you actually need to tell your AI prompt to limit the design to 5 to 8 distinct, bold colors. If you try to screen print those subtle, blended AI gradients, I promise you the result is going to look like mud. Now, if you're dealing with sharp typography or a bold, minimalist logo, you'll want to rely on AI vectorization. Remember, AI generates images as static pixel grids, but now we have tools that can analyze those pixels and magically convert them into infinitely scalable geometric paths, like an SVG file. This ensures your logo stays razor-sharp and totally independent of resolution, no matter how big the printing machine is. Okay, let's shift gears to our final topic, Section 4, Navigating the Copyright Maze.
As AI explodes across commercial fashion, it is bringing a ton of legal drama right along with it. According to insights provided by the Diaz-Royas International Law Firm, the U.S. Copyright Office is currently holding a very firm line. Copyright protection requires meaningful human authorship. Basically, if a work is pumped out solely by a machine without significant human input, it gets no copyright protection. That is a terrifying issue for brands that are relying entirely on AI to generate their clothing designs because they might not actually legally own the very products they're selling.
And these legal battles go way deeper when you look at how these AI models were built in the very first place. Right now, there are major class action lawsuits targeting AI companies for training their models on copyrighted human artwork without asking for permission. Courts are actively evaluating this using the 4-factor fair use test. They look at 1, the purpose of the use, 2, the nature of the original work, 3, how much of it was actually taken, and 4, which is huge, the effect on the market. In other words, is this AI-generated content killing the demand for the original human creator's work? For businesses actually using AI in their workflows, this creates some pretty serious risk exposure. There is a very real danger of what's called secondary liability. A brand could generate a quick AI design that, totally by accident, reproduces protected artistic elements from the AI's training data. To survive in this Wild West, companies are having to scramble to set up strict IP compliance strategies, run legal audits, and make absolutely sure their contracts with AI vendors include strong indemnification clauses just in case they get hit with an infringement claim. So this whole crazy situation really boils down to this one idea: the need to preserve the value of human creativity without stifling technological progress. That's the tightrope we're walking. The ultimate challenge for lawmakers, fashion brands, and really all of us is finding a way to protect the rights of human creators while still embracing the absolutely unbelievable things these AI tools let us do. It's a delicate balancing act, and it's one that is still very much evolving every single day.
Which leaves us with a pretty massive question to end on today. Think about it. If a machine physically generates the pixels, but a human conceptualizes the idea, curates the output, and meticulously engineers the exact prompt to bring it into existence, who is the true author of the 21st century? This industry is changing at lightning speed, and how we ultimately answer that question is going to define the future of creativity itself. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and I highly encourage you to keep digging into this topic. It's absolutely fascinating.